In an attempt to inform the public at large about the possible downside of trying to turn a lowly sports program into a powerhouse, the author of Binghamton Scandal did his argument a disservice by not making more claims of fact and policy while relying on too many value claims and irrelevant policy claims as well. Now, the purpose of this speech is to show that in an argument based on value, it is wise to provide alternative examples of the facts of the case. Now, to preview what I'll be going over, the main claim, how a runaway sports program can make a mockery of academic values and leave an administration's reputation in ruins, should have been better supported with clear examples besides the obvious, being job losses, players getting removed from the team, etc. Also, the editorial talks about Division I sports where schools often recruit players who are unprepared for college. But it doesn't really talk about those players. These players should have been better included in this article. Their stories, in my opinion, would have better supported the author's claims about how they're being not prepared for college, etc. Furthermore, in the initial claim, the author makes a value claim that scandalous sports issues can poison campus life. However, in his editorial, there are no examples of how campus life outside of the actual basketball program was poisoned. And this would have been a very vital part of the editorial author's argument. Now, to transition over to my main point, this is to support how the administration can be made a mockery of the sports runaway with a runaway sports program. Now, a good example of how the university administration have been made a mockery of comes from a New York Times article and the words of Frank Saraceno, who is a 31-year tenured employee and season ticket holder. And I quote, "We were embarrassed. This is a strong academic institution, and this affected us all." For someone who has been at the school for 31 years and presumably having seen it all, to feel embarrassed provides great insight to how the administration feels on the issue. In addition to this, the editorial could have drawn comparisons between the Binghamton Scandal and other schools who have went through similar issues, such as maybe the University of Kentucky or the University of Indiana, who went through similar problems with recruiting. Drawing such comparisons could have given the audience an idea of how this could affect the campus reputations at large on a national scale. And finally, Kevin Broadus, Binghamton's head coach at the time, would have been a great example of mockery. Mentioning him and his disgrace and embarrassment that he is going through even currently at the time would have been a great addition to the piece. Now, to transition over once again, where was the information about the players involved? Beef up the info on the players involved. Now, making claims about the players involved in the action and how their problems personally affected the school should have been essential for the argument for athletic overhaul. The prime example of this lack of information being given is with the team player Brian Steinhauer, if I said that correctly, and how he beat a man into a coma during an argument at a barroom brawl at a bar near campus. And now, according to www.rferl.org, Steinhauer subsequently fled the country to his home nation of Serbia to get political asylum. Now, that is a serious claim for collegiate basketball sports. The Serbian government even had to pay his bail and paid $900,000 to Steinhauer's victim. These claims of fact would have greatly supported the author's value claim against the integrity of the program's recruitment policies and the type of players that they recruit. And on the same scale, an article in the New York Times that states that Emmanuel Tiki Maben was also arrested for possession and distribution of cocaine. Now, you hear lots about drugs on campus at many schools, and how athletic players are involved with drugs, but you don't hear too often that players on major sports teams are involved with the distribution and the selling of cocaine. That would have been something very interesting to add to the editorial. Failing to make this claim a fact hurts the editorial, since his arrest also led to the release of several other players from the team within the next 2 days, as well as angering dozens of students. Now, show the reader, don't tell them. Where are the examples of the campus poison life? Now, an article on imprintmagazine.org interviews several students and asks them how they feel the scandal affected their how they feel their beloved basketball team has been affected, and how it affected their college experience. Now, to quote, and I quote, Binghamton basketball was something I looked forward to when I decided to go to Binghamton last year. There isn't a whole lot of spirit and pride that I imagine was going around the school last year. This quote displays the value that some students put on basketball and how the team's loss has affected them. It also would have been a great insider value claim to support his argument of how the issues regarding the basketball program could poison the campus life. Though in the editorial, the author did mention the scandal's effects on campus life, a more in-depth view of the perspectives of individual students, such as the one I quoted above, would have been useful, especially since basketball is so highly valued in the small town. And finally, where is this forward spin for the editorial? There's nothing that shows like what's happening for the future, just a few potential policy makeovers, but in the end, I feel like you have to give the reader something to let them know what to look forward to when they hear something about this issue. Now, in conclusion, the author did a great job of presenting the story of Binghamton's basketball scandal. However, better insight on those most affected, a glimpse into the current state of the program, maybe, and its actual plans for the future would have made a more rounded argument. Now, in review of my speech, the Being You editorial author answering these questions would have made for a better article. And these questions are: where is the detailed info on how the university was made a mockery of? Who are the athletes involved in the scandal? And what are the opinions of the students whose campus life have been affected by this scandal? Now, when the main claims of an argument are value claims, more information about, when you're making such value claims, more information should be given and more information about who should be given and less about how it was discovered. The author should have tried to better connect the reader to the scandal on a personal level and not just overstate policy claims. Thank you.